Google recently released the Stadia web app for iOS, and I wanted to test out just how well it worked using only cellular signal on my iPhone 12. So a few caveats before we get into the review. As I stated, this would primarily be testing out Stadia's performance over a 5G/LTE network, T-Mobile to be exact. And I'm in New York City, which has decent 5G speeds, but not full-blown 5G performance. I have actually been using Stadia a lot recently to play the notoriously buggy Cyberpunk 2077, and to every reviewer's surprise, even my own, Stadia actually runs Cyberpunk very well over Wi-Fi or Ethernet. As long as you have good internet performance at home, of course. I myself have about 500 plus download speed over Wi-Fi. Also, if you'll be playing at home mostly anyway, you might as well play Stadia on a larger screen like your laptop or even your TV if you have Chromecast Ultra. But how well does it perform on an iPhone off Wi-Fi? Now, setting up your phone to use Stadia might be a bit confusing at first if you don't keep in mind that you have to go to stadia.com on either Safari or Google Chrome to actually access and play your games. Yes, there is an official Stadia app on the App Store, but unfortunately, due to a stubborn Apple, Google, Microsoft, and eventually Amazon will not be able to let you use their official apps to play their games on an Apple device. The Stadia app is really just to view your catalog of games and also connect the official controller to your Wi-Fi network. But Apple can't stop anyone from visiting a particular website, so this is pretty much how Google, Microsoft, and eventually Amazon are going to overcome that obstacle. Now, once you visit Stadia.com on Safari, you can actually save it as a pseudo app by adding the bookmark directly to your home screen. So next time, all you have to do is just click the Stadia icon and it'll take you directly to the website, minus all the Safari borders. Now, Google says you only need 10 megabits per second download speed to play Stadia and only 35 megabits per second to actually get 4K. Though in my experience, the closer you get to 100 megabits per second or even higher, of course, your performance is gonna get much, much better. Going around New York City, I averaged around 100 megabits per second, though my lowest score was 20 megabits per second. And to my surprise, it still worked pretty well. And since we're using a wireless network, of course, expect to see some frame dips and lag, but overall performance was actually very stable. Visually, the games I tested, Cyberpunk, Borderlands 3, and Dead by Daylight, all looked pretty great, especially considering that they're being displayed on a tiny phone screen, which they definitely were not designed for. So yes, some UI elements are more difficult to see on my phone screen, though keep in mind, this shouldn't be your primary way to play AAA games. This should act more as a supplement to your at-home gaming setup. Now, as far as frames per second, there's no way for me to measure this through the Stadia app since it's being streamed to me from a remote computer. But to my eye, it appeared to be running very smoothly, minus the occasional stutter and a bit of lag every now and then. Though something to keep in mind is that you will not be able to use the official Stadia controller when you're streaming on a cellular network. The Stadia controller requires a Wi-Fi network to connect to your device, and as of now, does not support Bluetooth connection, even though Bluetooth is built into the controller. But if your iPhone or iPad is up to date, you can easily connect an Xbox or PlayStation controller, or even a cheap generic Bluetooth controller that supports iOS. I myself am using an 8-bit Duo controller since it's super compact and really high build quality. And no, this is not sponsored by them. Though I did notice that I would have to manually repair the controller every time I booted up Stadia. You can of course use touch controls, though I wouldn't recommend it since none of these games are designed to use touch input. As far as Google's promise that Stadia will be with you wherever you go, well, color me convinced. I got decent performance that I could respect, and all of my progress from all the games I played was instantly synced to my at-home Stadia setup. Now, will this be the case for everyone? Of course not. If you live in a more rural city or have spotty cellular reception, then your performance will probably be less than playable. Even I got the occasional notification that my connection was unstable and Stadia was going to disconnect. But all in all, if you live in a major city or have excellent cellular service and a shiny new 5G phone, well, Stadia is finally something worth considering. Especially if you want to play Cyberpunk right now with as little bugs as possible. Anyway, that was my review of Stadia on iOS using cellular networks. If you've been playing games on Stadia, let me know down in the comments below. And if you're considering checking out Stadia, what's holding you back? Let me know as well. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please consider subscribing. I really appreciate it. It really means a lot to me. And as always, my name is Joshua Mios. Stay sexy, and I'll see you sometime.